So a performer during the halftime show at the Super Bowl decided to take that and turn it into a moment of protest. They came out with a Palestinian and a Sudan flag together and was waving it around. They were quickly tackled and detained by the police, and now he has been banned from the NFL for life. But don't you think that's a little harsh? I mean, this guy, to my knowledge, didn't beat up any police officers. He didn't destroy any property, to my knowledge. He didn't break windows or kick down doors. He wasn't sitting there and chanting for the vice president to be hung, to my knowledge. I mean, I don't think he was doing any of those things. Don't you think it's a little harsh that he would be banned from the NFL for life over one moment like that? But you know what? You won't see one Democratic politician come out and make that guy their identity. You won't see one Democratic politician come out and call that guy a patriot and a hostage. You won't see any of them come out and change the words to the national anthem and sing it along with him. You won't hear any of that. But that's what we got with January 6th. We sat back and we watched the horrors of that day unfold. And then we got gaslit every step of the way, being told you didn't really see what you think you saw. It was just a day of peace and love. It was the most patriotic and peaceful of all days. And you're crazy if you think it was anything else. You're crazy if you think that was an insurrection. And Joe Rogan will pull up clips and show you some dude on the other side of the building just eating a hot dog and say, see there, it was peaceful that day. Well, I'm sure I've said this before. I'm sure you could go back to Dealey Plaza and you could probably find somebody sitting there feeding their dog on a park bench that day, but John F. Kennedy still lost his life that day. It's so ridiculous at the amount of gaslighting that we've seen on this subject. And then we've seen Donald Trump get reelected, and we saw him give blanket pardons to all of the J6 insurrectionists. And leading up to that, people in his own party was saying that's not a good idea. No, we don't need to. If they beat up police officers, they should have went to jail. But now they have completely left that in the dust. You got to remember too, back when it very first happened, Donald Trump did say, "You don't represent our movement. You're not part of this movement." He said that at first, until he realized that he needed those people, until he realized just how much his base loved those people, and then he began going to bat for them, calling them patriots and hostages. Then he gave them those blanket pardons. But now he's took it a step further, and he's saying the quiet part as loud as he possibly can, because now he can. He got what he wanted. He's back in office. He has immunity for official acts. And so now he can tell us how he really feels. I know that I said I wasn't going to play any clips of Trump here on the channel. And trust me, I don't enjoy it either. But I want to show this clip. I want to show you what he has to say here about January 6th, because there's no way that I could explain this without you seeing it. Because you have to pay attention to what it is that he didn't say. That's what I want to focus on. But take a look at this.
But you pardon people who assaulted first responders.
No, I pardoned people that were assaulted themselves. They were assaulted by our government. I pardoned J6 people who were assaulted by our government. That's who assaulted, and they were treated unfairly. There's never been a group of people in this country, outside of maybe one instance that I can think of, but I won't get into it, that were treated more horribly than the people of J6. So, no, I didn't assault. They didn't assault. They were assaulted. And what I did was a great thing for humanity. They were treated very, very unfairly. There's never been an incident like this.
So now he's saying that our government assaulted them. But did you notice what he said when he said they've never been treated badly, almost as bad as one group of people, but I won't go into that? What do you think he was referring to right there? What group of people could he be referring to? Could he have possibly been referring to slavery? That's just a thought that went through my head. I'm saying that's the first thought that went through my head when I heard him say that. And he pumped the brakes right there. But you got to remember, he's also the one that said that no president had ever been treated as bad as him. He had been treated worse than Abe Lincoln. And we know that's not the case. So when I saw that, the amount of disgust, I'm baffled by how that the guy can always find a way to disgust me even more. He can always find a way to raise the bar and disgust me even more. But to every Republican who sat and said we're the rule of law party, and to every Republican who said they're about morals and values and patriotism, you can take that and throw it right out the window. You never meant a word of that, to sit back and allow him to say that and not call it out. And that's the thing. None of them will call it out. None of them will say that was wrong. None of them will say that was completely out of line. We saw what happened on January 6th, and we saw what happened that led up to January 6th. And I have made this argument several times, but it's worth repeating. We've got a lot of new subscribers here on the channel that are joining up every day, and I truly appreciate that. If you haven't already and you like this kind of content, then hit that subscribe button. It sure does help us when you do. But I've made this point before, but I think it's worth repeating because I know there's going to be people that will say, but what about the BLM protest? What about all those people? There's always the whataboutisms. Well, here's what it's about. That's complete apples and oranges when you try to compare the two, because a protest is the voice of the unheard. For years, black people tried to tell us about police brutality, and they tried to raise awareness on that, and we just completely ignored it. And the voice of the unheard is what the protest ended up being. That was the voice of the unheard. January 6th was not the voice of the unheard because they cast their votes in a free and fair election and it didn't go their way. And Donald Trump sat and pumped one conspiracy theory after another in their direction until he got them all worked up to go to the Capitol on January 6th. And these people honestly thought they could just take a vacation day from work, go overthrow the government, and come back home. And we saw the assault that they did on our Capitol, and now he wants to turn it that, well, they were actually the ones assaulted. He's took it even farther now to say that they were the ones assaulted. The gaslighting absolutely continues, and the attempt to rewrite history continues. But we will never forget where we were on that day, and we will never forget what we saw. And it's absolutely a slap in the face of law enforcement when they say they back the blue. It's a slap in the face of first responders when they say that they're for them, because they're clearly not. And the message that this sends to people is, yeah, you can do anything you want to. What line could there possibly be? As long as you support Donald Trump, what line could you possibly cross that he wouldn't give you a pass for it? That's the message he's sending. That's the problem that I have with the way he's now spinning this, is there's people sitting back going, oh yeah, I can go do all these things, and then the president will say that they're assaulting me. I can turn it back around on them. But that protester at the Super Bowl, he'll be forgotten. Nope, I didn't even look up his name. No one's going to know it. No one's going to care. A day or two will pass. It'll be over. No one will call him a patriot or hostage. No one will say that that went too far. But we will continue to see Trump and his base glorify the people who assaulted our Capitol, who was chanting to hang Mike Pence. I would love to sit and hear the other politicians try to spin this one, because they've always tried to like toe that line and act like they still care, but they're not going to be able to as long as Donald Trump has a live microphone. I mean, he's going to say anything he wants, and now he feels more empowered to say anything he wants to. He knows he can go ahead and say how he really feels about things, and now his followers knows that they can say how they really feel about things, and they know that no matter how far they take it, they know that he will always go to bat for them. And it's truly one of the most disgusting things that I've ever seen in our country's history.